What's up guys, how are you guys doing? In this video we're gonna be continuing doing our guide video, and then in this video we're gonna be doing a Roberta guide. Okay, Roberta, everyone should have gotten it by now if you guys started with the game, right? When the game launches, there was a login event that gave you one copy of Roberta, so everyone should have had her by now. But if you guys started late, you probably missed out on her, right? But yeah, Roberta, she's one amazing character, guys, especially in PvP, guys. Her main role is in PvP, especially because of her kit. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna be talking about her kit, her gears, and some team comps you guys can use with her. Okay, so let's get started and let's go straight to her, right? So Roberta, she is one of my favorite characters in PvP, to be honest. She's really good, right? This is Roberta, right? For a free character, especially, she was the latest character in JP and KR side, but they gave her for free on global release, right? So yeah, she's really good, guys. Okay. So let's talk about her kit and we're gonna see how she works and stuff like that, right? First of all, we're gonna talk about her resonance. Her resonance is very good. If you look at her resonance 6 right here, it gives her attack up, and you're also gonna get this right here, slightly increase health max HP by a certain percentage passive when you do a journey mode, right? And then at resonance 10, you're actually gonna get more attack boost right here, and you're gonna get another attack increase passive here. Okay, you guys can lock inside the journey as well, right? So yeah, let's get started and let's look at what she does, right? So Roberta, her main thing is pretty much she counters any AoE comp. Okay, that's her whole like thing. Okay, and I'll show you guys why I say that, right? So her passive is I have her at 2 dupe, right? Because I pulled her, I pulled her already, and then I got the first dupe from the Logan event, right? So at 0 dupe, she doesn't get anything crazy, right? She gets, so increase Roberto crit rate by 50% on attack, deals 6% increased damage if self HP is 50% or above, and deals 12% increased damage if self HP is below 50%, right? So she flat out just increased her crit rate by 50, which is absolutely crazy, right? So because of this passive right here, the first part, right, increase Roberta crit rate by 50% on attack, you actually don't need to build a lot of crit rate on her. Okay, you ideally just want like about like maybe 40-50 crit rate on her, because this will, when every time she attacks, she actually gonna get a 50% increase to her crit, right? So she most likely gonna crit most of the time, right? And then she, based on her HP, right, so if it's above 50% HP, she actually gonna do 6% more damage, and if it's below 50% HP, she's gonna deal 12% HP, 12% increased damage, right? And then her passive right here, you keep all this, but then it will give her attack increase. And then if we look at her max increase right here, the max dupe right here, you're actually gonna get 50% attack. And then this right here, if her HP is above 50%, she's gonna be dealing 8% more damage instead of 6%. And then this one goes up by another a couple percentage, so it's gonna be 16% as well, right? But E0 is only 12%, right? So yeah, that's very good passive, by the way, right? And then we have her skill 2. Her skill 2 is very simple, right? It strikes the enemy with a rapid flurry of punches, grants self 1 stack of leap, right? Leap, you guys know what that is. This is the general like booster everyone gonna get, right, based on their attribute, right? So and then when you Nova Burst, temporarily deal 1 more toughness fixed damage on attack and increase self-action gauge by 20% after attacking. That is really good, right? On a basic attack, she can increase her turn meter. So yeah, she most likely gonna get a good amount of turns, right? When this thing procs, right? And then we have her skill 2 right here. So trigger. Yeah, and her skills trigger fast track on the attacker after being attacked by an attack that targets all, right? That targets all enemy. Removes 1 debuffs from self when using this skill. Increase self action gauge by 20% and grant self 1 stack of leap after attacking. Reduce the cooldown of fast track by 1 turn on critical hit, right? This is really good, right? She could also reduce this thing by 1 turn, so this 2 turn cooldown right is gonna go down to 1 turn, right? Whenever this thing procs, right? Very good skill right here. This thing procs when she is AoE attacked, right? So you actually cannot use the skill manually. This will trigger automatically, right? When the enemy use AoE attack, which is really good, right? And then with this fast track right here, it's just a skill name, but it does give her leap stack as well, right? And then she can also remove a debuff from herself, right? When using this skill. So when this skill procs, she actually can remove debuff from her, which is from herself, which is really good. And then she, yeah, right, increase self action gauge by 20% and grants herself 1 stack of leap after attacking, right? So yeah, as soon as she attacks, this will proc and it will give her a 20% turn meter. same thing, right? It will give her another 20% turn meter here as well, right? Very, very good right there. So yeah, she's gonna get a good amount of turns, okay? And so you also don't want to build her fast, okay? Because she can push her turn meter, and she mainly works off of countering. So you actually don't need a lot of speed on her, right? Because when you get attacked, she just counters and do her damage, right? Very simple, right? And then we got her ultimate right here, which is based on a field assessment, skips procedure and immediately takes decisive force to attack the enemy, grants self attack up, right? Her ultimate gives her attack up, which is crazy, right? For 2 turns, and increase self action gauge by 20%. So pretty much all of her skills actually increase her turn meter, which is crazy, right? Her action gauge. So yeah, she's gonna get a lot of turns. And then remove all leap stack and additionally increase self action gauge by 20% if leap is at max stack. That is just broken, right? Yeah, so she can get, if you have a max sleep stack, she actually gonna get a 40% increase to her turn meter, right, or action gauge, right, which is crazy, right? And then when you Nova Burst, it will do self toughness fixed damage temporary increase by 1 on attack, which is pretty good. This one there's no Nova Burst on this because it's not an active skill, right? So very, very strong card, right? So based on the kit, you pretty much just want to build with a lot of attack and a lot of crit damage, okay? Because when she crits, she's gonna be doing a lot more damage, right? As you can see, I have this gear on her. This is what you want on her, right? You want the crit gear, the crit damage set, the four crit damage set. Because it gives you a 40% crit damage increase, but you do want crit rate status on your bonus stats right here, right? All sub stats, right? That way you could get this crit rate up to like 50% or 40%, right? So that way you combine that with her passive, she's gonna get 100% crit rate, right? So yeah, you ideally want a good amount of crit rate boost on here as well. You don't need a lot of speed technically. And then yeah, 4 set crit rate, right? And then for the 2 set, you actually want, I gave her this one, but you actually want this right here, okay? So let me show you guys. So you actually want this set right here, right? Attack and effect resistance, that's the best one for her. But I don't have a good attack and effect resistance set, so I just gave her this one right here. But as you can see, you want something like this, right? So you got crit rate, crit damage, and then you want some HP as well, so she could be able to be tanky, right? But of course, for the main stat, you actually want attack here, okay? You actually want crit damage or attack, right? I think crit damage would be perfect here, and then you want attack here, okay? I have defense because that's the best one I have, but yeah, you ideally want here, right? You want attack here, and then you want not speed. You don't need speed. You actually want crit damage here as well, right? Just to maximize her damage when she crits, right? So you want crit damage on the necklace, and you want attack percentage on here, right? On the ring. With this set right here, of course, right? The two valor set, right? Very simple gearing she got, right? You could also, if you guys want to make her tanky, you guys can actually just go for like a full HP set, but I would not recommend it, right? You ideally want her to do a good amount of damage, so that way she could actually target the main DPS when she counters, and she's gonna do the most damage to them, right? So yeah, you ideally want a damaging card right here like this. Or you could also do like, attack gear is also pretty good right here because it does give you, a 20% increase to your attack, which is really good because everything scales with her attack. So yeah, you could also go with a full attack set, right? Of course, for the substats, like I said, you ideally want some crit rate, you want some speed as well, it's pretty good, and you want some effect resistance on her or crit damage. Yeah, I think crit damage will be really good, but then on the third stat, so you want speed, crit rate, crit damage, and then you want attack substats, right, to make her a full DPS. But if you guys don't want to make her, if you want to make her a little bit tanky, you guys can actually go for effect resistance substats right here, or HP substats, or defense substats, right? So that way she could actually she will be tanky a little bit more, right? Because since she relies on countering, if she survives longer, she is actually better, right? So yeah. So that's pretty much for Roberto, right? And then for team comps, you guys can actually use that with anyone. I think ideally, but I think a full mono team with green characters is gonna be really good with her as well, right? Belle will be pretty decent with her as well, right? Just for the mono comp, or you could just use that with anyone, right? It's fine. And this one is also this Tanya is also pretty good because of the skill right here. The skill is really good. It gives her a crit rate boost, which means it will, even if you have low like crit rate on Roberta, you could actually give her this right here, and then that will give her a 30% increase to Roberta, right? So that way, Roberta can 100% crit, right? So stuff like that. Of course, you could also use her with a tank, right? Somebody that could shield her. So Emily would be really good with her as well, right? Because of this skill right here, you can target Roberta with this, and then Emily will give Roberta attack and barrier. So that way, she will survive even longer, right? Of course, what's her name? Heal Day is also really good, right? Very, very good right here, right? with her, so you can definitely use her with a lot of characters, right? And yeah, that's it for Roberta. I think yeah, I just love her design, dude. She have really cool kit, I'm not gonna lie, right? And she's the only character that can counter currently, right? So yeah, very unique skill and effects, right? So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Roberta, and of course, thank you for watching, and of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And